Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Discuss Detroit. I am Jeanette Pierce with the Detroit Experience Factory and City Institute. And today we are talking with a good friend and East Sider, now an East Sider, Joe Rashid of East Warren Development Corp, all about the East Side and East Warren, and which is my old neighborhood, I just have to say, where I grew up and spent my formative years, the first 22 years of my life. And I'm just really excited to have you on and hear about everything that's going on today. How you doing today, Joe?
Doing great. Not a bad day out, and weather's not too warm, not too cold.
Perfect fall day with a little bit of sun.
Exactly.
That really makes it.
Yep, definitely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us your 2-minute life story.
Oh man, 2 minute life story. Born and raised in Detroit. I'm a West Sider who now lives on the East Side, so I have some identity issues because of that. I grew up in the University District, but my family's lived in LaSalle Gardens for over 100 years, so that's kind of home. So Linwood and West Grand Boulevard area, for those that don't know. And my family was all activists, so I kind of grew up in the 1980s social justice movements, where my dad's issue was the public financing of stadiums, and Tiger Stadium not wanting that to move, and not wanting to have corporate welfare, kind of involved with the Illiches. And my mom's issue was the closing of Catholic churches, and my aunts and uncles' issue was the closing of, or was the opening of the incinerator. And so I kind of grew up in parts of all of those kind of activist movements, and wanted to figure out ways to build more inclusive movements that could actually bring about change here in the city. So been doing community development in the city for the past 15 or so years, and lived in 10 different zip codes, but I call East English Village home now.
Awesome. And it is and is East, what street are you on though?
I'm on Bishop.
Okay, you're on Bishop. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on Audubon, which is Morningside, obviously, but with
Yeah.
a lot of East English Village influence for sure.
Definitely.
I mean, my first job was at Yorkshire Market on Mac there, and I used to walk up and wish that the Alger Theater would be open so I could walk to the movies. There's just we had a really great community growing up in the 80s on the East Side there, and I just love doing anything over there today because that community is still just absolutely amazing. Talk to us a little bit about the neighborhood, the community, and how you got to creating the East Warren Development Corp.
Yeah. East Warren was just, is really amazing corridor. Majority of the buildings are still intact. Yeah, we've gone through a little bit of a rough patch over the last 20 years, but we have so many, beautiful, thriving businesses. Our three neighborhoods here, Morningside, East English Village, and Cornerstone, are really tight-knit neighborhoods that are really active with the active neighborhood associations, and people really care and try to do everything they can to keep the neighborhood up and keep things going. And so one thing that became clear is, there were different issues in terms of housing that we had in our three neighborhoods, where one neighborhood like East English Village might be more concerned with, people playing basketball out in the front yard. Another neighborhood would have an abandoned house next to them. And so many different, housing issues and things like that to deal with. So it was hard to get neighborhoods to agree on, the policies and things like that for for that, but they would, everyone wanted to see East Warren come back, wanted to see thriving businesses, but wanted businesses that reflected the community, didn't want, a bunch of chain stores coming in and really changing the character of the community. And playing on the East English Village soccer team and playing on the softball team and talking to a lot of people that grew up in the area, they talked about Club 500 and they talked about the parade on East Warren and they talked about Wimpy's Bar and Grill and all the different amazing things that just like they held near and dear about how thriving East Warren once was. And so, for me, and hearing all that, and me having my wife being like, I want to be able to walk to things, I want to be in a neighborhood where we can do that stuff. And I said, well, let's figure out a way to make that happen here on East Warren. And so we started talking about, how do we bring the corridor back? Is it, do we do a real estate investment cooperative or something like that where we can, have the community buy in and buy up property? Because at the end of the day, the neighborhood, the name of the game is site control. So, if we don't own it, we can't control it. And so, when I moved here in 2014, I became a commercial co-chair for the neighborhood association, and we started digging into who owned what property and saw that, back in 2010 and 11, when the foreclosure crisis was hitting, the property values were so low that some speculators came in and just bought a bunch of the properties on East Warren and we're kind of holding them hostage. And so, we really realized that as properties come up, we need to make sure they get into residents' hands from the neighborhood. And there's a low enough barrier of entry over here where we can do that. Right now, I'd say about 50,000 square feet are in resident site control. So meaning they own, residents from the neighborhood actually own about 50,000 square feet of East Warren. We have another about 30 to 40 in city-owned site control. And then we have another 25 to 30 in nonprofit CDFI site control that are helping us with the development of the corridor right now.
That's awesome. And I mean, that's so approximately what kind of percent, add all those together. So is that like half around, or you have, or there's like just a small,
it's probably about
percentage?
25% of the corridor, but that's significant, right?
Yeah.
It's a significant stake. And seeing, amazing businesses like the Detroit Pepper Company, Flames Pizza, Rabo's, which has been here forever. We have Bike Tech, we have Eastside Locksmith. There's so many great businesses, Tiger Chung Taekwondo. There's just like so many great businesses along East Warren. And it's just growing each day. Like I can't wait to be able to go down the street and get a cake from Terry's Cakes and grab a coffee from Morningside Cafe. There's so many new businesses coming too. And so really at this point, we're a development facilitator. We're trying to work with the community to make sure people understand what's for sale, how to access the capital to be able to redevelop a property, things like that, so that it can be a more equitable process. Essentially, if possible, we'd like to, figure out an anti-gentrification strategy. We want to be able to develop the corridor, but we want to work together with the community to develop it and not have development happening to the community, but with community.
Absolutely. And I mean, 25%, like you said, that's a really significant part and somewhere to start. It's not like
right.
You'd be able to, like all those square footage numbers that you mentioned, you have to work on those first, right? And then you can continue. It starts somewhere, not everywhere, as our friends at Build Institute say, right? And and even like I always use the Riverfront Conservancy and the Riverwalk as an example. You don't wait until you have all 5.5 miles, contiguous, and every dollar raised. You take what you have available and you start work there, and you get it done, and then you can piece things together. So, and like you said, there's so many businesses that have been around, that have opened recently, and in terms of the anti-gentrification plan, I mean, that is so important. And I know that Jeff Chalmers recently, the JEI just released a plan about how to kind of similarly develop with the neighborhood and the community as the main stakeholders, and not just let's have a meeting and check a box kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
Let's go take a look at East Warren a little bit here. I'm going to share my screen. We'll get out of this here. And where'd it go? Too many things. There. No, there. Sorry. Okay, so we're talking East Warren here. I'm going to put your face in the corner here. Your offices during when it's not COVID time, and you're working out of the when you're not working just from home, are here at Zab Cultural Collective on the east side.
Yeah.
And so the boundaries are, so when you're talking about East Warren Development Corps, you're talking from Alter, right? Through Morningside neighborhood. And so for those that aren't familiar with East Side, as he mentioned, the different neighborhoods, you have Morningside, which does go all the way to East Sutter Drive. And then, oh, look, that's where I grew up. And then you have East English Village is between Outer Drive and Cadieux. And then you have Cornerstone Village here. And it's so called because as you like kind of zoom out, it really is like the corner of the city in terms of how the the boundaries go with Grosse Pointe and the different Grosse Pointes all along here adjacent. So let's really quick talk about Zab Cultural Collective. It's one of my new favorite places. It just opened almost exactly a year ago now.
Yeah, just in last August.
And it's a little co-working spot, and this is probably Denise in there getting stuff done. Tell us a little bit about Zab.
Yeah, so Zab Cultural Collective is a really great new co-working space centered around art. Denise herself, was an artist growing up, and then had kids and got away from art for about 20, 25 years, and just when it came back to it last year. Saying, I want to be able to continue to create, to be able to do things and make things happen. And so, Jeanette, you probably remember this as a kid. This was the old Masseri Produce. This was part of the Masseri Produce here, and so, so it's great that, she was able to buy the building back in the early 2000s. But at that time, there was a little bit of unpleasant activity happening around there, and so she just kind of kept the roll down shut and kept thinking about, dreaming about opening this space. And then she was able to actually do that last year. And so so she saw the momentum happening, and she said, I want to be part of this. I want to make this space something. She tried to sell it once. It wasn't in the cards, and she's like, this is just, my calling to be able to actually get the space open and up and running, and so it's been really a great space to be able to work out of.
Yeah, I mean, and her story too, it's she didn't actually utilize a lot of the grants and entrepreneurial things that that a lot of people did. So I mean, and she had this again resident of the neighborhood. Owns the building and now has just become this huge asset. You can see when I was going on the street, like that's an older picture, but now there's like murals on the side, and it really is. And it's also good for event space. Again, and when we get back to doing those kind of things, we had the Challenge Detroit folks over there last year, right when she opened. And then down the street is another one of my new favorites, is Detroit Pepper Company.
Yeah. And Detroit Pepper Company has amazing food, smoothies, so everything kind of starts with a vegan base, and then you can add meat or add whatever else you want on top of it. But it's stuffed peppers. And so Marlon is just, an incredible go-getter entrepreneur here in the neighborhood. Again, lived in the neighborhood for quite some time, wanted to be able to give back to the neighborhood. And so he's done a phenomenal job. He was able to utilize Motor City Match to be able to get his space renovated and up and going. And it's just been, a really incredible asset on the corridor. They just celebrated a year anniversary as well. So we have a lot of, young Black businesses that have opened in the last 2 or 3 years that are really incredible spaces.
And it's important to note for people that Detroit Pepper Company is open for carryout right now. It's always been a carryout place. And so during COVID, it is open right now. You can get carryout from there, and it really is delicious and healthy, you know, and then you can make it a little less healthy, like if you want to, but and then, yeah, he's awesome. And he even said he did a lot of the design work himself too, and, or, you know, had ideas about the logo and all of that stuff. Really, really great spot. And then you have the Alger Theater.
Yes.
Which is like, and I mean, really one of the anchors of, and probably certainly one of the older buildings, you know, remaining semi-active. And so it's a 1934 theater, if I remember correctly. And there's a really awesome, great group of volunteers that the Friends of the Alger, and I love this, that they put the deck on. So like, what was it? They needed a new roof anyway, so why not just raise a little bit more money to make it like a functional deck that you could have events on even when it rains, for example, like in some of these pictures here.
Yeah, I mean, the Alger is really great. It's it still has a long way to go to being fully fully renovated, but they've been working diligently on getting the storefronts and the rooftop deck going as kind of that first phase. And so last year they held a holiday pop-up in the space, in the storefront space. That rooftop deck has been, really great to host different events and allow people to just kind of look out and have a different perspective of the corridor too, right? And next door you have the old Red Carpet Lounge, which was a historic punk rock venue back in the day. There's so much history on East Warren. It's just like really great to be able to work in a community that has so much history that and really honor that history and figure out ways to do things. And you can see the 3 pieces of art by Desiree Kelly up there. And
I love this part. Sorry, just really quick, of with time travel that we can do on with Google Street View. We've been doing a lot of virtual tours, and we've done some East Side virtual tours, and you can just see it wasn't really usable space, and so that's been a huge part of recent so you have the deck, and then retail, and is there planned retail for these spots coming in?
So yeah, that's the plan. I know they need to do put in a bathroom, which means they have to plumb out to the actual road. So that might make it a little bit longer and a little bit more expensive. But that's the plan, right? Is to get those retail spaces up and operable as soon as possible. And so it's just. They want to make it the anchor. I mean, there's an ad from the mid 1930s from Saunders Fudge or Sanders, that really talks about the Sanders that was across the street, and they. I believe it was in kind of that mid yellow building there. But they moved there specifically because the Alger Theater. And so because it increases the dwell time on the corridor, because it does all of those different things, different businesses open to be a part of that same vibe that it created. And even though it's not a full-time theater right now, everyone still, sees the Alger as kind of that cornerstone or heartbeat of our corridor.
And I think it's really cool. You can, so people know, you can pay to put up your message here, a graduation, a birthday, advertisement, and that goes towards the renovation and funding for the building. And I love that they've also to continue to do movie programming, again, not during COVID time, but normally they would do movies on the Hill on Baldock. And if people don't know about Baldock, we're going to scooch down there real quick.
Yeah.
And show people some of the, this amazing public space and green space. And I actually was talking with Brad Dick just a few weeks ago on this program, who both lives in the neighborhood as well as is responsible for parks in the city. And certainly Baldock has gotten a lot of TLC over the recent years, and it's just gorgeous because you have the forested part and there's the little zip line that they put in there, and then of course you have the green space with the hill, which is the sledding hill in the winter, the new baseball diamond back there, and then so yeah, movies on the hill. I mean, I hope that we'll be able to get those back next year.
Yeah, hopefully, because it really is a great highlight for the families in the neighborhood to be able to do that. And Cornerstone Village is actually one of the more unique neighborhoods too, because it actually has like 5 different indoor sporting facilities. It has Eastside Tennis and Fitness. It has Ash Ice Arena. It's got the Mac Athletic Complex, which is indoor soccer and lacrosse. There's just so many different places here that really are unique, where experiences that you just don't have in other parts of the city, which is great.
Yeah, and longtime businesses too. So right over here,
Right.
also, we were talking about bike tech earlier.
Yep.
Biking is not new in Detroit. Let's just say
No.
that, right?
Yep.
It's certainly seen some an uptick, I'd probably say, and at least in visibility and certainly in bike lanes and all that stuff. But bike tech has been here since 1984. I mean, I remember coming here and getting bikes when I was a kid. And it's still going strong at this, this kind of cross streets almost here of Mac and Canyon, or Warren and Canyon.
Yeah. And I'll just say, I mean, it's one of 3 bike shops that carry, these unique parts and things like that for bikes in the entire country. So it's like, it's not just a bike shop. It's like a really unique, cornerstone bike shop for the whole biking industry kind of around the city. And Brian's been, before he was here, he was at Audubon and Warren at a bike shop, working. So he's been on this corridor for 35 plus years. So he's, a wealth of knowledge and, a huge ambassador for the entire corridor.
Well, that's like a destination. When you're
Right.
not going and buying, like looking for this specific part, you don't realize. It's kind of like, Detroit or the racket place on Livernois too, right? People come from all over. Like we were in there one time at Professional Racket Works. Is that Professional Racket Services? And we had someone in there from Saginaw that had driven from Saginaw to get that. It's the same thing with bike tech. Like and this is why we do our tours and focus on locals and try to have these conversations, because locally, a lot of times we don't know what's in our own backyard, whether that's literally in, if you live in Morningside, maybe you haven't been to bike tech if that's not in your, wheelhouse, no pun intended. But we thought, you and I had worked together on creating a tour for the neighborhood for neighborhood people. And we're going to be doing some more around that, because especially as these new businesses open, how do people find out about them? But never forgetting about the longtime businesses that have been here, the whole time.
Exactly.
And so this is the end of I always want to point this out, because again, we were talking about this a little earlier, but Warren and Mac, your East Warren Development Court goes from Alter, which we showed, to Mac, and everyone says that, wait, Warren and Mac are parallel. Well, they are for a little while, but then they meet right here, Warren and Mac on the east side by that CVS Pharmacy. Again, if you're an East Sider, you are very familiar with this, but for West Siders, your mind just might have been blown that Mac and Warren meet here on the east side of Detroit.
Exactly.
So talk to us about some of the stuff that you guys have been doing over the summer, and especially with COVID, and mixing things up.
Yeah. So I mean, a few different things. So I wear a few different hats. I also, along with Lauren Hood and Jackie Grant and Elena Jackson, we have a cooperative consulting firm that's working on the East Warren Cadieux plan, and so that's a planning process that's happening for this neighborhood right now. And so we have been doing the community engagement for that plan, and we've had to go virtual, right? We've had to do this, but with 25 to 50 people on a call and talk about streetscape, talk about parks, talk about commercial development, and talk about neighborhood stabilization, because those are kind of the four elements of that plan. And so it's been a challenge because this isn't as accessible for everyone. Not everyone has the internet. Not everyone has that, but we've had to kind of pivot towards that during COVID. But beyond that, we've been able to, so East Warren Development Corp has been working to get a farmers market going. And so we got a farmers market going on August 13th, was our first market. And so we've had, 35 to 60 vendors overall, but over the 5 weeks, different vendors sometimes each week. Some really great places like Myers Farms, Waxing Poetic, the Lobster Food Truck has been a big hit. There's just so many different places, great businesses. And when we think of business, we usually think of brick and mortar business, but there are so many people that have home-based businesses here that are really doing amazing, incredible work that should be able to incubate and get into brick and mortar spaces eventually, right? And so that's kind of like the whole thought of this is, we ran it as a 4-week pilot at first, just to see, will people come? Can we make people feel comfortable with East Warren again? Because a lot of people just in the neighborhood stopped going to East Warren because there weren't that as many places to go to anymore, right? But getting that activity back on the corridor and getting people thinking about that has been really amazing. And so we have, 250 to 300 people that probably come through the market each week, spending around $3,000 to $4,000 each week at the market. And so that's, $16,000 to $20,000 that's gone back into the local economy over the past 5 weeks. And so for us, it's really figuring out, how do we continue this to be able to support these entrepreneurs in new ways, to be able to help them grow things so that this can become something more formal. So, it's really great to be able to see that momentum happen. And these are all mainly, almost 100% East Side businesses, almost all Black owned businesses here on the East Side. And so it's really incredible to, see the different businesses that have kind of come about through this whole process.
Yeah, well, and I really want who those earrings, the Black Lives Matter earrings. Do you know what business that was? Because I might have to come by and get those.
Yeah, those are quintessentials. Kiana, I always mess up her name because she goes by D Kiki on Facebook, but Kiana is amazing and really inspiring entrepreneur. There's really so many great vendors. Terry's Cakes here,
and they're going to be opening. Terry's is going to be opening on the app too. Whereabouts are they going to? Where's she going to be?
So about 3 Mile and East Warren. So she's being a little bit more thoughtful about her build out so that it can open right around when hopefully we're through this pandemic, right? So that's what the goal is to give it a little bit of time, but she's building out right now. So yeah.
That's awesome. And so that's on Thursdays, right?
So Thursdays 3 to 7. It's really bumping around 4 to 6. I'd say is really when you'll see the most traffic at the market. But we have all sorts of proper protocol in place to make sure that everyone's masked up, to make sure that there's proper hand sanitizer there, and that there's proper socially distancing that can happen.
So yeah, here's 3 Mile and East Warren.
Yeah,
we're looking forward to Terry's Cakes. And where does the market take place? What's Stewart Cross?
So it's at Kensington and Warren. So
Kensington and Warren.
Right. Yep, right there. So it's on the the southwest corner. So it's the yep, it's the old Charter One Bank there.
But in the future, there might be another location for it. But right now, we're on Thursdays, and you're going to continue into the fall, right?
Yep, continue into the fall. And yeah, and so right now we're trying to figure out how does this live on? So this site will probably go up, be in the process of being developed in the next year or so. And so what can we do to actually make this live on? You know, is there a space that's big enough, that can house the market? And I think like the whole city is trying to figure out, it's like, okay, so one thing we can kind of do is be outside and socially distance and do things, and farmers markets allow us that. But we also get pretty cold here. So how can we actually, throughout the winter? So how can these businesses continue through then? How can we have a holiday market? How can we really bring about vibrancy even in our colder months? We're not, although we're a fairly cold city, we don't we're not Nordic like the Swedes who are out there all year round or something like that. So how do
Maybe
we
we have to
actually
get
do
that way. Like somebody said that they say that there's no bad weather, just bad clothing. So you just got to bundle up and get those heat lamps. And I don't know, we'll see. It'll definitely be an interesting, I mean, everything's very interesting and learning as we go. And safety is paramount, though. That is also
Yeah.
the thing. But there are ways where you can be safe and live your life. And it's finding that spot. And that's actually why we're having a monthly virtual tour about pandemic in Detroit updates, what's open, what's going on. Like you just posted about the Caju Cafe doing karaoke outside, and they had made an entire, they broke down part of their wall and made a entrance. And so their whole parking lot is now like a beer garden with everything distant. Because karaoke, that was the one thing that I had not seen come back anywhere yet. So that's a big one.
Yeah, and they're the longest running karaoke in the city. So they and they have a 5,000 square foot beer garden now. So it's really and they have a garage bar. So they turned a garage into a bar there. So it's really incredible to see it. And man, there's some talented people that are out there Wednesday nights at karaoke too. The talent definitely comes out here.
Yes. Well, and the live music. So that's another thing, that you have live music outside, again, safe. That's really exciting too, because obviously Kedge's always had a lot of great live music. We have such great local musicians that have just been really, musicians and obviously entertainment have been hit the hardest by COVID and everything being shut down. So it's a glimmer of hope. Plus the Caju obviously has been around for almost 100 years. And if people haven't been, it's a great bucket list. It's lots to see and experience on East Warren. And we could spend all day talking about it. When we were just down the little street view there, I saw like the sign for Woo's. Woo's was like the best Chinese food. My sister worked there in high school. And and I think one thing that I've kind of, I don't know, thought up through or talked about a little bit is because really you saw a lot of the East Warren businesses decline in the last 20 years, or go out, where other corridors you saw more like 30 or 40 years ago in the 80s and 90s. But we had, like you said, Wimpy's, Club 500, Woo's. There's a AAA Office Supply, Mediterranean Grill, like all of these places. And many of them didn't close until, ironically, when other areas were finally starting to maybe get some retail density. And I guess like my guess, I don't know, my educated guess as to why, to some extent, I think because, small businesses are cyclical and generational, right? And so because the businesses had stayed around for so long on East Warren, I know with Woo specifically, like the next generation didn't want to own a Chinese restaurant, right? Which is a really common, challenge with small businesses anyway. And so they were just seeing things close. So they kind of went down a little bit later. And then so we're a little bit behind, if you will, in the new energy, though but that is gone. I mean, that's been erased. That like little lag time is no longer.
Yeah, well, and I think we have to start thinking about uh, transitioning businesses differently. That it can be more than just your kids. Like I know Margot DeLaw with the Detroit Community Wealth Fund is always preaching. How about the workers? Form a co-op and take
Yeah.
over that restaurant and figure out other ways to do things. And so I think that it's thinking about cooperative economics, thinking about ways that we can actually do things. We're going to see some change. I mean, I know, like the Blue Point, for instance. The Blue Point was, a mere family restaurant. It was, a really incredible space
Just a
on
few
East
years
Warren.
ago, it just
Just,
closed a few years.
it closed in 2014,
Yeah.
a few months after I moved here, and I was actually there on the last few days. And but it was really that incredible environment. I remember talking to a few friends like Alexis Mann and Dave Mesery, who both worked there growing up. And if you bring your report card in, and they would say, oh, your grades are too low, you have to go home, you can't work this week. You have to concentrate on school. That accountability and building that local economy is more than just opening a business. It's about building community, right? And so having those spaces that local kids can work, like you said, you worked at Yorkshire Market. So all of those different places, we need that to be able to help that next generation be able to learn skills and build jobs and do things like that. And so I think it's really important to see. And so, I mean, I know if there are any food-based entrepreneurs on this listening to this, they're looking for a new restaurateur to take over the Blue Point. There's a lot of other opportunities, and really excited and happy to help anyone facilitate getting more business happening on East Warren that represents the community, right?
And there's so many assets. I mean, and I think that that's where there wasn't, I mean, I know there were different nonprofits, and there's excellent nonprofits doing different pieces on the East Side, obviously from East Side Community Network to You Snap Back, and then Mecca,
Yeah.
which is, specifically around the Morgan City East English Village Cornerstone. But that's why I think what we've seen in other neighborhoods too is that when you have a community development corporation specifically focused on one area, instead of having to cover a lot of ground, then like you can focus now and really help this one area, right? And like learn out from Grandmont Rosedale and some other examples. But before, maybe it was hard. Maybe someone was interested, but who and how do we talk to? And again, there were definitely pieces out there, but it's, I think, going to be a little bit easier now, including having people see that there's density, there's money to be spent, and there's that one of those myths in that, oh, the Detroiters just have no money, right? I mean, that was, so no, we can't open any stores or any restaurants in Detroit. And that was something where I think Revolve Detroit and Motor City Match originally, and kind of help those pop-ups when you see, wow, there's a lot of people that want to do this. And some of the studies that showed how much leaking of money, otherwise known as how much money Detroiters were spending outside of the city limits, partially because they didn't have, the places here. And I will also say, because they might not know about some of the places that existed. So there's twofold there.
Right.
But there's definitely so much potential. I mean, and you can see it with all the businesses that are already coming there and opening, and the energy that you've been able to create with the farmers market in just a short amount of time is just wonderful. So East Warren's lucky to have you.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, and it's interesting because there's like little nodes popping up along the corridor too. So like a little bit further east. If I don't know if you want to pull up the map and just kind of show this real quick, but at Balfour and Warren, there's like this really incredible little node of business that's coming together. So you have the Craft Cafe, which was one of our first new businesses to open. So we've had about 15 to 20 new businesses open along the corridor. But the Craft Cafe Detroit it's like they do, you know, really great events. They have all sorts of things happening there. It's kind of, you know, for paint parties and craft parties and doing a lot of different things. They just had the building painted last week, so it looks incredible in the last couple of weeks. So it looks has a much more vibrant pop to it. And then then next door to that, the building next door to it is actually now they're moving in today. The East Warren Tool Library that's been operating for about the past year and a half. They just got this building next door to be their permanent home. So congratulations to the yep. So the Motor Grounds crew.
Is the pet shop still there? Or
yep, and M&M Pet Shop still there. Stephen Franks.
They've been around decades.
For 60 years. Yeah. So you know, the previous owners sold it after about 54 years. And so Stephen Franks has owned it for the past 2. He's a really, he used to work there and really great guy, has done a phenomenal job just kind of bringing it back and bringing it to life. And so, you know, like, so those 3 businesses there. And then there's a new retail and beauty salon that's opening up just on the other side of it. If you go back,
on the other side, on the same side of the street, or
yep, you know, so the corner business is still there, and then next door, that kind of blue awning here, that's going to be her. So Jamie is opening that up, and so that's really going to be incredible space along East Warren too. And so there, you know, there's a really nice node of walkable business there, you know, with the different, you know, different retail that's happening there. So it's exciting to see. It's not just, you know, right around the Alger, but a little further down at Balfour and Warren. There's also, you know, like a really great node of business. And, you know, and if people don't know about the East Warren Tool Library,
tell us about that.
You know, anyone can go and get a membership to the tool library. It is a really amazing business. So essentially, it's kind of what you think of, right? You know, it's like going to the library, you get books. Well, going to the tool library, you get tools. So it's a membership-based organization run by the Motor City Grounds crew, which is a really great nonprofit here in the city. And they've really made Morningside their home. They bought the old Habitat for Humanity site on Lakewood, Lakewood, I believe Lakewood, not Lakewood, yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. But so they renovated that whole site. Now they're getting this building and putting the tool library in there. And so it's a sliding scale based on income. If you make $25,000 or less, you pay $25 a year. Make $50,000 or less, you pay $50 a year. So it's a really great way to not have to own every single tool and have space for every single tool in your own house. But you can actually, you know, just go up there on the days that they're open and be able to access and get whatever tools you need. They have almost 2,000 tools in stock and are really incredible spot. And if you have any tools that you're looking to get rid of or donate, they'll take almost all tools.
That's really great to know. So like those action items from things, right? Like, you know, because I was actually just looking at some stuff in our basement that ended up here from a family or something. And wow, okay, I was just thinking, what can we do with some of that? And then the Craft Cafe, they're doing, if you're looking for a space to do like a small thing, even during COVID, for like 8 or 10 people of your close family or friends, and I've seen people ask about that on social media. And I mean, they can do a little bit more than that too, but for a small group where you want to stay safe within your bubble, they are a great spot to do that.
Yeah, they're, you know, Candace is incredible, and she does really great work. And you know, and it's also become kind of a resource hub too, right? So they do a Gleaners food giveaway during the days. You know, at the Craft Cafe, I believe today they're doing one, so you can go and get 25 pounds of food. You know, so you know, for those that can't really afford the groceries right now and things like that, you know, there's spaces like that. Brilliant Detroit is doing a lot lot of really great work. They're opening up a Morningside house.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of really incredible momentum around the neighborhoods right now. And so I think it's going to be exciting especially once the streetscape comes and once businesses really start opening and popping. People are going to be like, man, okay, East Warren, it's exciting to see. And most of it's just happening organically. And I'm just here to kind of help facilitate, right? But, with it takes a village approach, because none of this happens with just one person.
Absolutely. And this is just do real quick for your East Warren Development Corp and your great team that you have with Darnell Adams as your board president and Elena Jackson. You got Jackie Grant, some really great folks. Larissa, these are your board members. And then you just also brought on a new associate, right?
Yeah. So Brienne Holmes-Bell is been really great working with us. She's a lot of times I'm stuck running the organization and doing the day-to-day stuff. Sometimes falls to the wayside, but having Bree here to actually help coordinate the market and get events going has been really amazing, right? So she's been a lifesaver to be able to coordinate with the different vendors and make sure that we have almost 30 vendors every week at our market. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, we put some websites up here, eastwarren.org, alzertheater.org. We didn't really get a chance to talk about Arts and Scraps yet, but they are just right over here, a longtime nonprofit in the neighborhood that does amazing projects, and they are doing stuff during COVID. The store is back open in limited hours and such, but this is also really great for at home if you're with kids and looking for projects. I mean, they have made done amazing work around STEM and art, and you get these prepackaged that'll work projects basically that you can put together for kids. They also are looking for volunteers. I saw them post about that. Socially distant, they'll make sure to do that, but sorting some of this stuff takes time. And they also are taking donations still too. So they have this really great mural now on the side of their building too. And they're just over here, just off of Chandler Park by the highway.
Off Harper there.
Exit.
Yeah.
It's over there.
Yeah.
So these are just a handful. And then Mecca Detroit, Mecca Development Corp, again, Letitia and the team there for the Morningside, East English Village, Cornerstone.
Community advocates. Yep. And they've been doing some really great work rehabbing a couple homes in the neighborhood. They also have and they have a workforce development program that works with that, as well as a upholstery class that they've gone virtual with to be able to train people in how to do upholstery, which has been really cool to kind of see some of the work that they've been able to have come out of there, as well as they kind of have a community closet or a free store that is based at the Bethany Christian Church on Caju, and I believe
it's not as far as it's right here.
No, that's Lutheran. There's Bethany Christian as well, which is
right. So Bethany Lutheran does have a lot of things that they do in the community as well. And
then Bethany Christian is at, I believe, Linville and Caju.
Oh, okay. So we'll have to find out. Well, there's so many different things, so call to action, we kind of mentioned this. Any other last, what do you want? I mean, just get out and get to East Warren, support the businesses, support the nonprofits, follow them on Facebook, what's the best Facebook page? Is that Restore in East Warren or
So East Warren Development Corp is more the fan page, right? If you want to be, more part of the conversation and understand kind of what's going on, Restore in East Warren is more our community engagement arm, right? So it's our way that we connect with the community and make sure that people know what's going on. And but really the best way to get involved is to come out, spend some money at Detroit Pepper Company, Flames, which is a mod style pizza place here on East Warren, or, at Bike Tech, Rabo's Cafe, or come to the market. From 3 to 7 every Thursday. We try to have a live DJ there every week, and really make it an exciting, fun time.
Is there a list of all the businesses somewhere?
So I believe we have a pretty good comprehensive list on ewarren.org of all the different businesses there.
Which one is it?
Maybe it's, I believe, if you click on commercial development, it might be there, down there.
People can find it. It's okay. We'll also we can put a link to it on the Facebook thing. And I know I called you out on that one at the, but yeah, there's so many places. That's all, we have a checklist of, we still have our checklist of all the bars and restaurants. We need to update it now, as it's been the last few, we haven't updated it since COVID, but there's just really no shortage of things to do and get involved in. And it's such an amazing community of people, and the block clubs. And I'm always just amazed at how many people show up and are engaged. It's one of the most engaged communities in the city, in my experience, at least. And not just saying that because I'm from there, but and I really do appreciate you taking the time today, and I appreciate all that you do for the city and for all the fights that you keep fighting the good fight. We need to all be doing that on a daily basis, or at least taking turns.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Jeanette. Really appreciate you having me on.
All right, we'll talk soon. Have a great day.
All right, thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
And everybody else can also make sure you check out City Institute and Detroit Experience Factory on Facebook and on Instagram and all that. And I'll be doing these weekly conversations Mondays at 2 p.m. Until who knows. But and then you can find them all, previous conversations, on our website at City Institute, thecityinstitute.com, under the Discuss Detroit tab. But on that note, I hope everybody has a great week. Enjoy the fall weather and the first hoodies that you get to wear of the season. It always feels so cozy when we get to do that. And we hope to see you guys on East Warren. Have a great day.